According to ESPN, champion LSU women basketball team will be accepting the Biden invitation to the White House. Now, unless you've been up under a rock, you're aware of the back and forth that's been going on. Uh, First Lady Jill Biden was at the game, national championship with Iowa and LSU. I guess originally she wanted to go to the back and kind of give a pep talk to LSU, and LSU just was in the zone. They wasn't really, um, they didn't feel that they needed that right then. They just needed to stay locked in. So that might have been where a possible disconnect may have started. So we move further. LSU blows Iowa out. Jill Biden is speaking in Colorado, and she says maybe we'll invite the loser for the first time in history in Iowa. Now, the perception to this is she's being sympathetic to Iowa because it's an all-white team, and a standout comment that made Andrew Reese feel like that, also myself, was the sportsmanship comment. So to her, it was kind of a sneak diss, and Angels from that generation where, they don't like that. Just stand on what you're saying. And, of course, Twitter went crazy. It was already a race war going on. And Jill Biden, as many said, poured gasoline on it. And the White House came back and, walked back those comments, said that she really didn't mean any disrespect by it. She just wanted to celebrate both teams. LSU today comes out and say that they will be attending. Angel did a press run interview, said that they wouldn't. But I think what LSU is showing today is nobody's bigger than the program. So yes, you're this great player, but what I think they're trying to convey is there's a lot of relationships that goes into these programs being successful. And if you're getting federal funding, you probably don't want to burn those bridges. We understand that sponsorships and all of those things it's just a lot of power with the current administration. Whether you're with them or against them, you see what the last administration is going through. I mean, when you get to a certain level, you're going to learn politics and how to play politics. And even when you disagree, at a certain height, you're going to do it a certain way. And the LSU as a whole is going to walk through this respectfully, and I'm sure that they'll prompt Angel to do so. There'll be a conversation probably had, and everybody will move forward. Now, I think what Angel may not realize is she represents the biggest voting base for the Democratic Party. So this actually could hurt them in the upcoming election year next year, and they're not going to let that happen. So one way or another, this is going to get cleaned up, whether that's through some losses elsewhere in the doors, but things will begin to happen strangely. But they're not going to let her mess up what's coming and mess up any percentage of their voter base. And we've seen a lot of that voter base speak out pertaining to this situation. So they're trying to walk it back. they're trying to clean it up. And even if it's not really a priority, they're going to make it a priority because they understand how to play politics in big picture and optics. Let's go into the article a little bit. University spokesman Michael Bonet confirmed LSU intentions on the matter Thursday, a day after Tiger star Angel Reese suggested during a podcast interview that her team should celebrate their title with former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama rather than Jill Biden. Reese made the suggestion after saying she was not inclined to accept an apology from Jill Biden for suggesting that both LSU and runner-up Iowa be invited to the White House, which was very disrespectful. President Biden did not follow through on that idea, inviting only LSU and men's national champion Connecticut. Vanessa DeVia, a spokesman for Jill Biden, has said the First Lady had meant no disrespect to LSU and that her comments were intended to applaud the historic game and all women's athletes. Now, that may have been her intention. Some may interpret it as that's politics and they're trying to, clean it up and walk it back. But that's what the spokesperson said. With its 102-85 triumph over the Hawkeyes, LSU's point total was the most ever scored in a championship game by a single team. The combined 187 total shattered the previous mark. The game also drew a television audience of 9.9 million, a record for an NCAA women's title game. There is currently no set date for a White House visit, Bonet said. He could not confirm whether all players and coaches would be able to attend. At an appearance in Denver on Monday, Jill Biden had praised Iowa's sportsmanship and congratulated both teams. She also said that as part of the long-standing tradition of having champions visit the White House, Iowa should come as well because they played such a good game, even though they were almost blew out by 20 points. Reese on Monday called Jill Biden's suggestion a joke. Some social media commenters noted the racial dynamics involved, saying that only winners should be rewarded with a White House visit and that hosting both teams would detract from the achievement by LSU's team, which is predominantly black. The Iowa team is largely white. Others noted the important role of black women in the Democratic Party politics, and that's what I was talking about. So that's one of the biggest reasons with the election right around the corner. This will be cleared up, and I believe they're going to show all parties involved that nobody is bigger than the program. President Biden was Obama's running mate and vice president for 8 years. Obama, meanwhile, actively campaigned for Biden in the 2020 election. And that's to, show anybody that's upset that may be black. You've seen a lot of those black people that were upset the first day turn it around. I'm sure companies had a talk with them on what's coming up. And now we're here. Following LSU's victory, Coach Kim Mulkey said she would go to the White House if invited. Reach said Wednesday she was uncertain if she would go. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Reese didn't go, but I'm sure a lot of the money will suggest that she does go. Reese faced criticism on social media for mockingly waving her hand in front of her face while staring down Iowa star Caitlin Clark. That's the You Can't See Me John Cena. If you don't know what that is, just look up John Cena, You Can't See Me. Near the end of the game, Clark, the Associated Press Player of the Year, made a similar gesture to no one in particular during Iowa's victory over Louisville, and that's where it's a misconception. How they show the clip in the camera, you can't see Van Lith, but she was originally looking at Van Lith. At first, I was thinking that, like, man, she wasn't looking at nobody. But when I went back and watched the game again, it was some back and forth going on between the two, and that was towards Van Lith. If we were to lose, we would not. And I almost went past that. Pay attention to how ESPN, who I always like to point out, is traditionally racially biased against black American boxers with the pound for pound list and certain coverage, especially if they're not with ESPN. Now we're starting to see a little bit of change because, Jay Prince has a lot of fighters over there, and he's not going to tolerate the disrespect. But traditionally, ESPN shows a lot of racial bias towards black American boxers. We see the same with women's basketball, and we see how they tried to throw in that Caitlyn was just doing "you can't see me" to nobody. Okay, who can't see? So nobody can't see you? Okay, I guess so. If we were to lose, we would not be getting invited to the White House, she added. I remember she made a comment about both teams should be invited because of sportsmanship, and I'm like, are you saying that because of what I did? Stuff like that, it bothers me because you are a woman at the end of the day. White, black, it doesn't matter. That's where you're wrong. A lot of times our women get lost into this feminist thing, and white women, they have a fight because white men have controlled a lot of these companies that have held them back. White men had the laws that made it where black people, men and women, couldn't vote, and white women couldn't vote. Black men had no power in holding women back. We weren't given the jobs. We was trying to get a job just like you. We happen to get in, but we can't control who these people ended up hiring. We would fight tooth and nail to stay in. And, in our neighborhoods, we always let the women play basketball with us and have, they had leadership roles. So that was nothing foreign to us. We always accept the women. What white man chose to do seems to get put on all men, but it's unfair for the black man because the black man was fighting with the women to have a role in society. But a lot of times, they do the divide and conquer tactic, and I would say trick our women into fighting us in the same way they fight their man, even though we weren't in those positions to put them in power, like the white man was. White, black, it doesn't matter. You're a woman. You're supposed to be standing behind us before anything. And I always understand that traditionally the white woman has been tearing apart your family, black woman. Emmett Till, he had a mother. He had, I'm sure aunties or sisters, grandmother, all that. He was wrongly killed because of lies of a white woman. Never punished. She was never punished. Black Wall Street was burnt down because of the lies on a black man of a white woman. And we see this throughout history. So we had Margaret Sanger created Planned Parenthood. It's a white woman with the goal of exterminating black children. So I understand what it became, and it might be beneficial for some women now, but her original goal wasn't the best for black people in its inception. So, maybe go watch a documentary, Mouth for 21. You'll learn a little bit more about that. But I'm just saying, don't be deceived. And I'm not saying all is against you, but I'm just saying be aware of the history and be aware of context of the position of the black man when you're trying to join, these feminist type ideologies. During LSU's championship parade through campus Wednesday night, a smiling Reese continued to wave her hand in front of her face in between waves to cheering fans as she sat on the back of an orange Corvette. Reese's expressiveness on and off the court has sparked increasing interest in her. According to Canada Sports Betting, Reese gained 500,000 Instagram followers in 2 days after LSU's national title triumph, pushing her total of followers above 1 million. So, again, this is very controversial. I think the end play, everybody will end up going to the White House, and maybe the Obamas accompany them to, I guess, put a bow on it and bring everybody together. And it's just a great look, especially with the election around the corner. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm out.